Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live-action movie Casey Jones and Raphael in Disguise 2-pack. And I just want to say right now, I've seen a lot of people talking about this set, and I find it very troubling. Not because of what's going on with it being difficult to get or what people are saying about that, it's just that the number of people who think Raph's name is Ralph is unsettling. I know you guys have seen that too, and I'm hoping so hard that it's just autocorrect and people aren't fixing it, but there are so many posts about Ralph and Casey, and I don't know what to do with that. But let's ignore that. Let's go ahead and talk about the figure set. There's some really good stuff going on here. Not a lot surprising about Ralph over here. It's mostly the same as before, but Casey is a brand new figure, so that's what we're going to focus on mostly. A lot of good things. Few things not so great, but we're gonna get into that. So let's go ahead and get these guys off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, this guy let's take his hat, let's leave his hat on. I'm gonna just change my mind in the middle of it. Let's say 6 3/4 including the hat, which makes him just over 17 centimeters. Without the hat, it should be the exact same as all the previous versions of him, about 16.5, give or take, and that's going to put him at closer to 6.5. As for Casey, let's go ahead and do height measurements first. That seems to be a good idea. He stands just about 7 1/4 inches, which makes him pretty close to 18.5 centimeters. And if you want to see, if you didn't see before, a height comparison, especially without the hat, he comes up to about the middle of Casey's head. So that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and talk about Ralph first, because we're going to just get that out of the way. It's essentially the exact same Ralph figure that we got before, but now he has the jacket. The jacket's not as elaborate as the big version, the quarter scale version, but for this scale, they did a really good job. We do have an actual strap with the actual little thingies, whatever you call that. That's pretty cool. They did sew buttons on here. That's very nice. The openings for the buttons back here, they do not open. I know that's unfortunate, but that is reasonable at this scale. That is fine. The pockets, are they usable pockets? I don't know. Honestly, I didn't check. The pockets are usable pockets, so that's really good. I love it when they do that kind of thing. Again, over here we have actual straps. It's a very nice overcoat for this scale. Very happy with that. No problem at all. It does look like they purposely skipped that stitch again over here. I'm assuming that's what that is, because it was like that in the movie, although mine doesn't dangle. Oh, never mind. Anyway, it's a good jacket. That's fine. The backpack is the same as the big one. It's just a solid PVC backpack. Nicely detailed though, looks pretty good. Goes on his shoulders. You can take all of this off, and underneath we have our standard Raphael Ninja Turtle, which I'm not going to go over again. We've already reviewed this guy. If you want to check that out, look up there. But it's a really solid figure, and you can still fit his size in his belt, so you can recreate the famous scene where he flashes his size, and that's pretty cool. Face paint is still on point. Everything looks good. Awesome figure. Don't need to go over the whole thing. The hat does fit on his head. We'll talk about accessories in a minute. All right, let's talk about the new one, the one that I think is the main attraction. Aesthetically speaking, it looks pretty darn good. If there's one thing that NECA is good at, it's making Predators. No, it's making figures that look good. And if there's two things, Predators would probably be on the list. But figures that look good is their thing, especially organic. Clothing, they usually nail it. They did a really good job with this guy. I think the thing that stands out the most to me as being unappealing is those elbow joints, or are those elbow joints, is the design of said elbow joints. I get it. I understand why they do that. I'm not a huge fan. It's just too clunky looking for me, but once it's posed, it's not very noticeable, so that's fine. We have veins on the arms, lots of detail work going on. Obviously, all the clothing is sculpted with texture, and it's dry brushed to have a nice little look to it. Very nicely done. They did sculpt his hair on his arms and his chest. They did it by actually sculpting it into the skin, which is a common practice. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it does look better than nothing most of the time, and it does look good here, so that is fine. Sculpting hair that's actually a physical thing is very difficult, so this is a reasonable approach, and that's okay. The gloves are very nicely textured. The shoes, his sneaks, Look at the details. They look like real shoes. They're very nicely done. Love that. And then the face. Looks very, very good. Obviously, they don't have the likeness rights. I know that it seems like maybe the actor is giving the rights. He said he was okay with it, but I guess officially it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know what's going on with that. But at the time of this, obviously, it didn't happen. And I think that's okay, because this looks awesome, and anybody who has this would probably want to display it with a mask anyway. Love that they made the mask a little bit like a glossy satin finish, and you can see through the holes here and here, obviously, to see his eyes and mouth, and that's awesome, and the hair looks good. But if they do another version with a likeness, that'd be cool. Nice addition to the collection. But all in all, very aesthetically pleasing. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Because I don't care for those elbows, not a big deal. It's still a 9 out of 10. And I don't like the knee flaps. I understand why they do that. If it was me, and since I'm the one reviewing it, that's what I'm talking about, I would make them just less. Just pull them up just enough to cover the joint. I don't like the extra knee flap. You know what I mean? Just have it stop, have it terminate at the joint rather than below it. But still, 9 out of 10 is pretty good, and we'll include Ralph in that 9 out of 10. I'm sorry, Ralph in that 9 out of 10 as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do all the accessories, one big shebang. If you want to count Ralph's jacket and backpack, we can. We do have his hat with a little cutout for the bandana knot, so that's good. So we have a total of 3 different bandanas. The one that comes on his head, and then we have 2 other ones for slightly different poses. That's pretty good. We have 2 gripping hands that come on him in the package. We have 2 different sets of style pose hands, pointing finger and open hand. That's pretty much standard. We do have his 2 sais and a slice of pizza, so that pretty much covers his accessories. As for Casey, we have 2 fist hands, 2 different sets of gripping hands, and then 1 pointy finger hand and 1 secondary type hand, so plenty of options there. We do have his golf bag stick holder apparatus, which is nicely detailed. It can go over his shoulder. Then we do have 1 big hockey stick, a little hockey stick, a golf stick, 2 little baseball type sticks, and looks like a cricket stick. So lots of sports sticks to go in there. They don't all fit, but you can put some in there. You can recreate the scene, I think, appropriately, and you definitely have plenty of posing options. And that's it for accessories. That's a lot of accessories, and I think that's good. I'm going to give it I want to say 10. I don't know what else to include. I do know what else to include. I'm going to say 9. Only because I think it would have been really, really awesome, even if it was only cardboard, to have the trash can that Raphael ends up in after their first encounter. That would have been awesome. I know that's asking for too much, but that's how you get things, by asking. So 9 out of 10 because I want a trash can. All right, on to the articulation. Not going to do this, guys. We've covered it before. Check out that review again if you want to. This guy, let's talk about his. The neck is on at least a single. It could be a double. It feels like a double, but because of that hair being the way it is, which is to say it's right on the torso, you're not going to get a ton of range out of it. Rotation, no problem. Looking down, you can get some looking down, which is pretty good. Looking up, it's not really happening. He can look up a little bit. It's enough. It is perfectly acceptable. I don't know what else they could have done. That is fine. For the shoulder, you can get it up all the way. No problem at all there. That's not good. Why is the pin flesh tone? Or not pin, but the joint. Why is that flesh tone? It should not be flesh tone. That is terrible. That is definitely not good. I know why they did it, because that's what color they were making for all the other joints, and that's how you save money. But that is, if you raise his arm and see white, that looks just abysmal. And they did try to paint it, at least. I'll give them some credit there, but obviously you can't paint that kind of plastic. That's probably polypropylene, maybe? I'm guessing that's what that is. Could be PC. Anyway, it doesn't stick. Paint doesn't stick to that, so that's not usually, or it could be nylon even. Anyway, you can't paint any of them, so that sucks. There is no bicep swivel up there, but with this contraption of an elbow, you get your double jointed elbow, which gives you really good range, and it's not too bad looking once it's bent. It's fine. Like I said, it's not the worst joint ever. It's just not my favorite. You do get your rotation out of that, which does end up making it look weird, but you do get your rotation. And there you can see how we have like a double situation going on, and it's not aesthetically pleasing, but it is functional, so that is okay. Now for the wrists, we have a swivel and a hinge, And none of the wrists have the hinge in the right direction. I want to point that out. He's using only melee stick type weapons, and all of the joints are horizontal joints. That is the wrong type of joint. You'll be able to do enough posability with it, have enough posability with it, but with better joints, you'd have even more. Got to put that out there. For the torso, there's some kind of something going on in there. It feels like it's lower rather than higher. There could be something higher too, but I can't really tell. This is a very snug fitting shirt. And then we have another one on top of it. I don't know if this blue on here is supposed to be there, by the way. Do you guys see the blue? There's a spot there. There's more over here. I don't know if that's supposed to be there, like if he had blue spots on him in the movie. I don't remember that. But I do have blue spots, but you can rotate it around. There is more leaning. There is some leaning, I should say. Not enough to really count. I mean, it's not going to really do you any good. So you can rotate it. So we have a little bit of a diaper situation, which is standard for this kind of figure. Doesn't look bad at all on this guy though, so that's good. The hips are your standard hinged hips. Let's see what kind of range we get. Looks like pretty much you can do the splits, which is really good. You don't have a huge thing hanging down here. That sounds worse than I meant it to. Sometimes when you have figures that can do the splits, you get the joint that comes down really far, and that looks bad. This is pretty good. I like that. Those are nice and stiff, by the way. Let's see how it is going forward. It's not floppy, but it's not very tight forward and back. They don't seem to be catching each other though, so that's good. But both of the hips are fairly loose forward and back. I don't think he's going to take any shelf dives, but it could pose an issue for posing. As far as the thigh swivel goes, we do get one. That's pretty nice. For the knee, single joint. Looks okay. Again, I wouldn't mind this being a little bit less, but that's a very small issue, so that's okay. But you get about 90. A little bit less. You do technically have rotation in there. That's not going to do you much good though. And then for the ankles, you have a hinge, which lets the foot go back a little bit. And it goes forward a little bit. Very minimal range there. And then you do also have a swivel, but it's at a very awkward angle. So the ankles are really, really limited. Very not good ankles. Now, of course, he doesn't need to be in like crazy poses, and he stands just fine. But it is limited, and it is an action figure, so we have to count that. So as far as articulation goes on this guy, it's definitely going to be enough to get him into some poses. It's not terrible, but it's definitely more limited than maybe, say, the Turtles or Shredder or the Foot. He's probably the most limited out of all of them, which is unfortunate. But again, it's not like he was running around doing karate kicks and stuff, so I think it's fine. It really comes down to the individual as far as what you guys value. Objectively, it's very limited. I'll give it a 7, I guess. 6, 7, I don't know. But it is aesthetically good, and that is what NECA is going for here, and I get it. So again, you pretty much know what you're getting with NECA. They definitely favor the aesthetic, and I think that's fine. That's their prerogative. And would I prefer better range? Yes. Do I think we need it? Practically speaking, probably not. Anyway, final verdict on this guy and the 2-pack in general, because we do have to include Ralph and all of the accessories. I think it is an exceptional 2-pack. It looks like it came right out of the movie. Very nicely done. Posability will be enough to recreate the scenes you need to recreate for the most part, or to just have them looking good on a shelf. So I'm going to give him a final verdict of... I'm going to go 8.5 or 9. 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I do wish this guy was a little bit more posable, but they do look so dang good, and they came with a ton of stuff. 8.5 or 9. I'm sticking with that. You guys can choose. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you did not like the video, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, well, you should, because I have new videos out almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.